Okay, good morning, everybody. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to present the result of my master thesis in the University of Stuttgart in Germany. The motivation of my work is a well-known problem of the construction industry, which is the low productivity, which has experienced during the last 20 years, in comparison especially with the manufacturing industry. So if we look at the factors causing this low productivity, most of them are related with communication problems. So if we want to solve these communications issues, we need to look at the social structure of the organizations. But the social structures are something abstract. So we need a tool to have an overview of these abstract structures. So that's why we can use something called social network analysis to map the relationships between people. We can use these circles called nodes to represent people. We can draw their relationships with these lines. We can use colors to represent the teams where they are working, and also different node size in order to represent the nodes more connected. So this is a map of the social structure of these people. And with this, you can identify easily which are the major actors in this organization, and also the people which are more isolated. So what I proposed was a framework to implement this in construction projects. The input was a survey with only 4 questions meant to be answered in between 5 to 10 minutes for all the project participants. Then I processed the result of this survey in an open source software with an algorithm called Force Atlas, which draw these maps, okay, distributing the nodes according to the number of connections. It was a gravitational algorithm. And the results were these maps and also metrics numbers. So it's important to have these numbers because we can measure these abstract structures with numbers, and then we can compare, okay? So we are able to make a qualitative and a quantitative analysis. So I said that the question had the survey had 4 questions. Each question was related with one field. The first one was the collaborative work. The first question of the survey was, who have you been working with? After the people answer this question, the algorithm can draw a sociogram like this, and you can use metrics like the diameter or the average path degree to count the step that needs information from one person to another, okay? Because when we transfer a message, it can deteriorate when it goes through many receptors, okay? So it's important to take a look on the channel of the communication, if it's a personal communication, if email, telephone, so on, the steps between the communication and the content. We can use more metrics, another metric called modularity, in order to know how are the people working, like which are the sub-communities of your organization, the natural teams. The second field was the identification of roles. To explain that, okay, first, the question of the survey was, do you know the role of your coworkers? To explain that, I'm going to use this metric called density. Can you tell me which of these 2 networks looks more dense? The second one, right? So when you answer in the survey that you know the role of person B, there's going to be a connection between me and this person. If I know all the roles of my colleagues, I'm going to have a lot of connections. So 100% of density means that everybody knows the role of everybody in the organization. And that is important. So Because if you know the role of the people the people you are working with, you can avoid delays to find information and solve problems. You know the people that you need to ask directly. The third field was the planning and problem resolution. The question was, with whom do you plan on solve problems effectively? It's important in order to know who is the people involved taking decisions and who are the problem solvers. If we have a network like this, we can identify the brokers or bottlenecks in the network, and we can know a priori that if they leave the organization, you are going to have a problem because the network is going to be split in two, because all the information is passed in by this individual. So it's important to identify these kind of nodes in the organizations. You can take a look also to the network shape and identify if you are planning on solving a problem holistically, like in a round and mixed network, or in different teams. The final field was the knowledge transfer. The question was, from whom have you learned something new? Okay? It is important to identify the knowledge givers and takers and the major actor influencing the group. There is a metric called centrality, which puts the node with more diverse connections in the center of the network. And you can see here, this node has the same number of connections as this one, but this is more central because it's connected with more different colors, more different teams. So when you are spreading ideas into an organization, it's better to use this kind of people because they can spread the idea faster to more diverse kind of teams. This is an example of the result of the analysis of one social network. This was the sociogram, the qualitative analysis. This was the quantitative with all the metrics. This tool can be used in companies using color for different departments, and in projects using color for different subcontractors. To develop this tool, I used an iterative design where I developed a prototype, then I test it, then I improve it, redesign it, and so on 5 times in 5 different contexts. The first one was a consulting office in Germany. Second one, when the first prototype was, the second prototype was designed, was applied in 2 construction projects in Switzerland. Then I applied this again in an organization, but this time in an organization with 6 different consultancy offices around Germany in 6 different cities. You can see here that each color represents a city. The blue ones are the headquarters of this company. And finally, when the model was finished, I applied this in the most complex context, which was an infrastructure project in Chile. This tool can be used at the beginning of the project, and we can use this as a diagnostic of the current communication structure. And then, if you apply it again, you can use the tool to demonstrate how much have you improved with your implementations the communication in the project. You can compare, you see? So for the future, what can we do? Because right now the tool is done. So if we continue applying this tool, we can create a statistical benchmark of the metrics that this tool gives us. So Luis Segarra made that in Chile in 9 architectural firms, and he found this trend with the density of the communication. He found that the more number of people in the organization, the more difficult it is to reach higher densities. And okay, that makes sense because if you have an organization of 4 people, it's easy to get in contact with 3 of them than in an organization of 100 people that you will need 99 contacts. But also, it has a mathematical consequence because the density is calculated as the actual connection divided the potential connections, as this formula is a function of 2 variables. So when you plug it into a surface, you got something like this. I put these points of Segarra in this surface where the red color represents the higher density and the green the lowest. And okay, I got his nice trend. And then I put my point, the points that I found in Germany and Switzerland, Chile. Unfortunately, they didn't follow the same trend. But when I identified them, I saw that the point of the Chilean project was next to the other Chilean points. Okay, when I put this in the Segarra diagram, it means that, okay, there are not too many points to conclude something, okay? But in the future, if we can keep implementing this tool, maybe we can get new trends like this and identify them by localization, projects in Europe, projects in South America, by type of projects, infrastructure projects, industrial projects. And that is the most valuable use of this tool. Because right now, this tool is just a diagnosis. But if we can get and build a database to build a benchmark, we can use all these metrics to know which is the normal value of the metrics for every kind of projects. And we can say to our customer from the point of view of the consulting, okay, your communication is above or below the normal range. But the most important will be when we mix it with the KPIs of projects. We can identify the best projects, the best practice, and say, okay, best projects has a density of 80%. So then we will have an objective to follow and not just a diagnosis. So that's why I invite you to implement this tool. If you want to implement it in one of your projects, I will be happy to help you. Thank you very much.